But there's so many ways that you can niche down or kind of hone who you are. I think it's all about understanding, as you say, what do you want to be known for almost? Kind of what do you want to be, that thing that kind of gets people to think about you, that association, which is really big in marketing.
Hey, Kevon here. Welcome back to the Public Show. So today in this episode, I have Fab Giovanetti here with me. And I've met so many creators, but no one leaves a stronger impression in my mind than her. And this is because she's really professional, but at the same time, she's super fun. And you'll see it in the episode. So here we talk about three things. Number one, how do we pick which one to build, personal brand or business brand? Number two, building in public didn't start from the marketers, but how do marketers see it? How do they use it? Let's talk about that. Number three, if you want to win the game, if you want people to remember you for a certain thing, you have to coin a term. So we talk about how do you master coining something. Now, you can already tell that this is going to be a jam-packed episode. So let's get started. All right, guys, welcome here to the Public Show. Today I have Fab Giovanetti with me here. I'm trying really hard to pronounce the name, but I need to tell all of you about Fab here because, Fab and I met each other about a year ago. I still remember we met at Maven Course Accelerator at the end of 2021. And, she's just this really charming person. And, well, obviously she has a great business brand, but her personality and, unique style is all within the brand and her presence. So I've always seen her as this role model that I look up to because now I'm shaping my Public Lab brand as well. So I'm super excited that she's here with us today. And I was on Fab's podcast before, and now she's on this show, so it's amazing. Yeah, well, Fab, let's get to know you, shall we?
Yay! By the way, this is my second coffee because it's really early in the morning for me, so I do apologize if I have bursts of energy that will come out of nowhere. Maybe I shouldn't apologize. I'm not going to apologize.
Yeah, don't. Yesterday I had an energy drink and a coffee and another coffee, and I was like, oh, feels really great actually, but only on rare days.
I mean, I'm not going to be proud of this, so please don't judge me, human being, listening and watching and doing all these wonderful things. But I used to have probably 2 or 3 Red Bulls a day when I was a teenager, which is so bad for you. But it was literally my way of surviving because I had so much energy. It's something that came with me for most of my life. And I'm not proud of it. But I think my brain must have been on fire those days because 2 or 3 Red Bulls was not good for you. So I know that, but that was my life.
Yeah, it's okay. Now you know it, and now you move on from it.
And have coffee instead.
I guess we all know what Fab is like from this little story. But let's not talk about business. Let's stay away from business. Let's get to know you first. What should people know about you? Is there quick 1 or 2 things that you can tell everyone who's watching this? Yes.
So I'm Italian originally. So I come from Italy. I have lived in the UK for 13 years. So you get this weird combination of, again, very stereotypical Italian energy, plus then inner desire to apologize for everything, which is very British, which you just combine together makes something wonderful and creepy and weird. So that's obviously who I am. I am also a marketer. I've been a marketer for 13 years. And as Kevon said, that's how we met. I run a school called Alt Marketing School. Alt like alternative. I know it's confusing. And so I went from just consulting in marketing, which I still do now with an agency that I am a partner of called Edge. But aside from that, most of my efforts are also put into the school. So if I'm not consulting, I'm teaching, and marketing is what I love. I had another business before Alt Marketing School. So I've been working for myself for now 9 years. So it's been a while. And it taught me a lot. So obviously when we talk about things, there might be perspective from both of the experiences that I had. And the final thing that you should know about me again is that I do love coffee, and it's one of those things. I love coffee, I love horror movies, I love band t-shirts and bands because I used to be a music journalist. So if you follow me online, there will be potentially a combination of all three at some point flying your way for this specific reason, because I really love these things.
I guess that's why your brand is so vibrant. Maybe because of all the coffee.
Definitely. Powered by coffee and pizza. Again, the Italian in me comes out. So yeah, definitely that will be it.
I love it. I have a few Italian friends on Twitter, and all we talk about is pizza. And I keep telling them my baby girl's first pizza is pineapple pizza.
I knew it.
And they don't like it.
But that's the thing. And I want to say to all the fellow Italians that are watching or potentially hearing this, is that you need to be open-minded. I tried it. I personally don't like it because, like, for me, a too sweet pizza, sweet sour is not really for me. But let's give pineapple pizza a chance. If you like it, you can just keep it to yourself and not tell the world so that they don't think you're not Italian enough, apparently, for some reason. But it's really funny. It becomes a very contingency thing. And sorry, I'm already going into business mode. Not necessarily, but I'm thinking these little things, though, make you memorable. Like, you know, when you take a stand on something or things like this. So even your opinion about pineapple on pizza is, funnily enough, something that people want to hear more about, that you sometimes constantly talking about yourself or your business. So that's why I do like to have these conversations, because I think sometimes we forget to bring a bit of lightheartedness to the online world, which we live in far too much, which is fair enough, but that's the case.
Wow. This is actually a great transition to the first thing I want to talk to you about, like personal branding, business branding. But I still don't want to get into that yet, because I still want to know about you a bit more. I wonder, like, in terms of like your personal values, personal principles, what is something that you care so much about in life?
That is like a personal value that also kind of also kind of like flies back into the business side of it, but because they're so interconnected, which is making an impact is something that I really value, regardless of whether I do it with my friends or with the work I do. And I think it's finding that subtle balance between wanting to be of service and also don't use it as a way to define yourself, you know, validation and etc., which is a conversation that we can honestly talk about for years, to be quite honest. And again, it transpires also in the way that we show up online, but also we forget there's also a way that a lot of us live our normal lives, like wanting to be of service to make sure that we feel valued enough or that we have enough value to bring to people's lives. So I find that I want to make sure that what I do makes an impact, but at the same time that also kind of fills my cup. So there's an element of impact and service plus also fun. There are two big things for me. So having fun in the little things. My husband, thankfully, doesn't take himself very seriously, just like I don't take myself very seriously. And that really helps, I think, is one of those things that I think the wisdom of children in a way is the ability to have fun and just to try things and not worry about if we fail or if we fall. And I constantly bring myself back to that. And again, that also transpires in the online life. And I don't know what you think about it. I actually have a question for you. Lol. We're starting already with that.
Really? Okay.
But I genuinely believe that it's hard because some people are like, I should appear online in a certain way. Like, you know, I want to come up as a brand persona in a certain way. And for me personally, and I don't know you watching what you think, and obviously Kevon, but I find that then it's hard for me then to relate to the person if I see that then in other ways, or when I actually talk to them, they're very, very different. And something that I love about you is that you are exactly the person that writes, the way that you speak, the way that you talk to me, etc. is all the same, is very cohesive, because it's okay to show up whole regardless of whether you are in your business hat or not. And it's hard, and I know that for some people it's hard because they want to appear a certain way to feel more like an authority and a leader, etc. But I know that people are drawn to me, especially to the school and to my teaching, because I'm exactly the same wherever you see me. I bring that type of energy everywhere. And I know for me, I really value that. Talking about values, I really value that element of authenticity, because everybody talks about authenticity, but, you know. But I think it's hard as well. You know, I understand that some people struggle with that and be like, I don't want to show up fully as myself because I don't know, people are going to judge me or look at me differently. So what are your thoughts on that? Sorry, I literally threw a question your way, but I thought
this is great. Like keeping
discussion.
It like a conversation, because I think people are quite bored as a one-way interview anyway. So conversations, people actually say, one of my previous episode, right? They were like, oh, I was talking to F. Chapman, and the people are like, oh, you guys are like close friends just chatting, and I'm this like third wheeling you guys, but I feel great. So I like that. Thanks for asking me. I was going to say, Like when you say, oh, sorry, I'm bringing this back to like a business thing. I was going to say, this is exactly how we show up. Like, it's not about crafting a personal brand. It's more about just finding who we are and then just display it to the people. And people can feel it, obviously. And I guess that's why I was drawn to being in touch with you for almost a year now, because we are exactly the same. And I think this is a better way to grow, because you're not like feeling exhausted every day, like being someone you're not. Like I'm sure we feel pretty excited waking up every day, just doing what we do. Yeah. Okay. So I guess for the people listening to this is what authenticity is about. Not designing it, just taking whatever you have.
I love that. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I know that it can be hard, but again, when you came into our podcast, we talked about, finding that balance as well. I remember of just being able to show up, and when you don't feel like showing up, what should you do? And I think there's a lot of learning about yourself in the process as well, when you decide maybe to step back because of reasons, because of life. I know that you recently, at the time of recording, you took a step back for a couple of days because you had some family stuff to work through. I was moving. And I was talking to Kevon before we went on here that I'm literally finding things in boxes and half of my stuff is still God knows where, So there's, and for the longest time I was like, maybe I shouldn't share, or, how much do I share about that, because that's my personal life. And one of our students that was in our autumn cohort, we do 2 cohorts a year for the certification, and she saw my post about eventually having moved, like, after the cohort, I moved, but during the cohort, for that cohort, I moved 5 different locations. So every time they saw me, pretty much, I was in a different place. And she said, I didn't fully realize, because I talked about it, but not obviously just talking about it all the time. And she was like, well done you, or wow, you managed to actually run like a 6-week thing, but still like running around and like being very kind of transient. And so, you kind of forget that some people then will realize, and actually it will kind of put a lot of things in perspective for them. So if you do feel prompted to share because you feel it kind of makes sense with your journey, it's not a way of indulgence. It actually allows people to see and understand also why sometimes you're tired, or why you're not showing up as much, or why some things change. It's context. And I think especially now, 2022, going on to 2023, context is going to be so important. It's not just about content and content. It's also about the context that we're bringing in. It's about the stories that we bring in.
Yeah. Then Fab, I have a question for you, because, we talk about personal branding, our own personality. But when I first got to know you, you were already building the business under this brand, like alt marketing school. Sorry. And, these days, creators, they all write under their own name, right? KevonChang.com, and then like first name, last name.com. But I think my impression on you is always on the business brand side, but you do add in some of your like creator flavor. Like one thing I spotted is people call it blog or articles, but you call it essays, which is very personal. So how do you think about the blending between business brand and personal brand?
That's an excellent question. It depends. Now, putting my business hat on, one bit of context, again, talking about context. I started running my own business as a business coach for wellness entrepreneurs. That was very specific. So business has always been the business strategic side of it has always been part of my head. Long story short, I've had multiple brands in the past couple of years, and some of them were myself, and some of them super personal, some of them were separate. And for the longest time, I tried to separate everything. And something that some of our advisors mentioned to me, and also our teachers, because I really lean onto our non-team team for Alt Marketing School, because they believe in the mission, which shout out to the advisors and the teachers, they're amazing. They were like, step, and that was a big kind of wake-up call moment. They were like, you still talk about yourself as Fab. Obviously, I did a bit more consulting then. I had my own courses because I was still transitioning from my old business. I have my books, which are still there, and they're awesome, humble. But they were like, you still are kind of stepping as Fab and then separate as the business. But in order for the business to grow, Alt Marketing School is only officially less than a year old, because our first cohort was in January this year. And they were like, if you don't step in and actually build a visibility plan as the founder of Alt Marketing School, it's going to be hard for it to grow. And that kind of like reminded me that honestly, there are some people, which I'm very impressed by, that can have their personal brand in 5 or 6 different companies and brands, and they just kind of champion them all and have this portfolio. But then you can see them, and you can see that when it comes to it, they probably are more bringing in their, how can I say this? They're going to bring themselves in as the person that manages, and they kind of like uses this portfolio to amplify their message. But then there's people like us who are more creators. I would say historically, I'm also a creator as well, who have potentially our creator business, and then they have a separate business. And we think there's only one way to do it. And so if you're listening and you are in this little camp, there is not one way to do it. It really depends on your goals. Like, just to give you, again, understanding of why my advisors were like, please bring yourself in as the founder of Alt Marketing School, is because people know me very well as Fab, but they still don't know the school enough. And the school is literally about me and the teachers. And I teach most of it, and I am there all the time. So if people get to know me, then obviously they build the trust to then obviously join whatever we're doing with the school. So you need to understand what you want to grow. If you say, I just want to grow my personal brand, that's totally fine. And obviously I think then you've put your focus and attention into that side of things. But if you start saying, actually, I don't want to go the business side, has the separate entity that is me, but also that stands on its own, then you need to slightly flip the script and think about your focus. This is obviously with my little marketing hat on. That's what I had to realize myself. And as I said, up until probably September, October this year, I still felt I'm going to keep Fab separate with my own line of thought and my own kind of advice. And then I thought, actually, if I step into Fab as CEO a bit more, or head teacher a bit more, and share the journey of Alt Marketing School instead, by still sharing other things that I'm passionate about as how to run a business, that will make sense with the goal that I have right now, which is growing the school. So always get back to what is your goal, and don't be afraid to slightly adapt the way that your personal brand and business brand interact based on that. So otherwise you get stuck, and then you just feel like your mind is fractured. And as I said, for some people it works. For me, it just wasn't. So long story short.
Yeah. No, I can see what you're talking about, because Public Lab is just me right now. All the content is written by me. All the classes are run by me. All the products are built by me. So I've been thinking, maybe I could become like a place for other people, other really high quality people to come in and teach the audience as well. But I'm definitely thinking how to navigate this shift. It's not easy. But then it brings me to the next question, like, what is the advantage of being seen as a school with, like, you have 7 other teachers who are marketing professionals, who are also consultants, which, like, pretty great, as opposed to just, hey, I'm a creator, I'm Kevon, I have my book, I have my course. What's the biggest advantage there?
I love that question. By the way, completely random, real life problem. As I said, I'm in my new office, and currently the sun is coming up, and I just realized for the first time, because it's the only time that I'm here this early, that I literally have the sun in my eyes. So everyone, you're welcome. It might be editing, there might be not, but I'm going to have to put the blinds down for 1 second because I can't see nothing. Real life moment.
Oh, at least you have the blinds. This is a good house. I was thinking everyone is going to see you as the sun move up your face.
I mean, it's problematic though, because now I'm going to get really dark. Okay, people, we're doing a bit of a switch. Oh, thank God.
Oh, it's still okay. Yeah.
I just couldn't see you anymore. I was like, I can't answer this question now because I can't see him, and that would be really weird. I was like smiling, and I was like, no, I need to do something. Anyway, we're back, everyone. Now I can see. It depends. Again, the advantage for us and for me is that we bring different voices in. I think it goes back to then your business values and your business mission. Like Alt Marketing School wants to teach 100,000 professionals, is a big number, but let's say big, how to market to hearts and to brains. That is the vision. However, our mission is to make marketing accessible to people from different walks of life and make it impactful and as diverse as the community they should be. As such, it's going to be diverse and accessible in so many ways. And one of them also has to be that I'm not an expert in everything. And the school, I want to teach people as many elements of marketing as possible. But SEO is not necessarily what I like to talk about every single day. So bringing in different perspectives and voices allows the students to connect with different people, allows them to learn from different walks of life, and also to see themselves into the different people that are, whether they come from a corporate background, regardless of their ethnicity even. It can be different elements that actually make them relatable to them because of their own life experience and their own choices and their own work. So it just made sense because I realized that people are drawn to me when it comes to the school, because then I'm going to be the main spokesperson, the main person that leads them through the journey. Now it's going to be 8 weeks as well, not 6. So it's going to be even longer.
Oh, wow.
And that's another thing that I want to say as well when it comes to building in public, which again, just to kind of on the side as well, is also learn from the different steps of kind of like the journey. And that's another thing that I love about having the teachers in, but also having the school as what it is that I'm going to do a shout out to Tiago Forte from Forte Labs. He did a little, like a seminar session for Maven, which again is for Matt. And I was on that one live, and he talked about having release notes and actually sharing the different iterations of his course. And I started doing that myself because actually I realized we add and change so many things based on the user's feedback. I literally eat up the students' feedback. It's not just the normal feedback. Every single session has feedback. So I learn from all of it, and we implement everything if it makes sense, obviously. And I love in this session, he was talking about just showing it to them, showing the value and the growth. So that's a very simple way to build in public without even having to be like too strategic about it. You just keep writing, what have you added, what have you taken out, what have you streamlined. And so the side note is building in public sometimes is also sharing how you're evolving based on the needs of your audience or your students or your people. And I think that's a big thing for us. So the school and the way that it's structured is reflecting on all of this, our mission, our vision, and also what our students need.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing up the release page, because I was looking at your newsletter and I found it. I was like, oh, nice, building in public. Now we have something to talk about. Yeah, but I'm curious. So the students see this page with the feedback and what you've implemented. Do you hear any feedback, or does it bring them closer to you? Does that draw them to give you even more feedback because they see the page that you're serious about their feedback? What is the biggest impact from having that public page?
It's not really about the students, funnily enough, because the students are already in. So that is mainly for prospective students. So you see it also in our Maven, shout out again to Maven, in our Maven landing page, because that's where we still get people to if they want to apply. We have the link, like we want to see what's new, what's changed. We also do it where people apply specifically. We remind them that's the release notes. So it's actually for the prospects to show them, like, you can join us right now, and this is what you're going to get. This is how it's got better since we started. This is how it's got different since we started. But also gives an element of urgency without having the overly, like, prodding element of urgency that is not really us. Like, the kind of almost a bit too aggressive urgency. But it's like, this is what you can get right now. Obviously, for the price point that we have, for the experience that we have. But also it shows that if you show up and you join, and we will grow with you as a student. And sometimes we've been able, because we're still a small business, to take some of the feedback from students. If there was enough people actually bringing up, oh, this is an issue, this is confusing, I would literally the day after see how can we make this work. And sometimes in a week I will be able to fix that if it was something logistic that wasn't too hard. So I always put my students first, and that's one of the big things for me. I always put their experience first, and that's why we really have the certification as our main thing, and that's why we do the release notes for it. That's why I put a lot of work into that. We have other things because I believe that diversification has always been important, but it's going to be even more important with this recession and 2023. I think an element of diversification is going to help. And I mean, I think I've seen it also with you exploring a few new things, because it just makes sense right now. It's hard to have all your eggs in one basket because the buyers' habits are changing so much. People are changing so much what they need and what they can afford and what experience they want. Giving them different options probably last year was almost too much. You should focus on one thing. This year has been changing so quickly. So I can see next year diversification with purpose be coming back as well for creators.
Yeah. This is embarrassing to say because I focus on building in public, right? But your idea about the release note of the cohort-based course is so good. I'm going to steal from you.
Steal away. It's not embarrassing.
Yeah.
Take a look at this.
Yeah, we're always learning, and that actually brings a good point because you are a marketer, so you see building in public from a marketing lens. A lot of people just new to building in public, they usually think it's more community, it's more accountability. So I share the to-do list or I share my updates building my app or my products, but they don't really think a lot from the marketing angle. So I just kind of want to hear your definition of building in public from a marketer perspective. Yeah, I just want to hear it. How you describe it. Yeah, tell me about it.
See, I'm going to give you, so not necessarily to me, because I think to me it's a hybrid of the two that you just mentioned. Because obviously to me, I also put my hat on as a CEO and a CMO, because for the other company, I'm like chief marketing officer because I bring the marketing piece in for the agency. But in general, as a marketer, I think marketers actually do a lot of building in public if they do their marketing right, or if they show up in a way that makes sense for them. Because for a lot of marketers, building in public is basically showcasing their expertise or their experimentations. So basically, there's something that I call, that's not just me, but we call marketing experiments. That's where it's very common. Not everybody uses the term, but a lot of marketers will know what I'm talking about. If you're not a marketer, it basically means trying something, trying a tactic, trying a framework, seeing if it works, learning from it. It's something that we teach also in the school, and in general you should learn to do as a marketer. Is you are a scientist, talking about labs. You're not, and you have to try a lot of things, and sometimes they don't work, and it's hard when you're working with clients or with a company and you're like, this didn't go the way you wanted to. So even having that leadership piece of saying, this is what we learned from it though. So when you think
Did you
about
say lab because of public lab?
Yes, of course.
Yay.
Yeah.
Shout out to public lab.
Little like scientist coat, be like, hi, this is the public lab. So, you can add that to it when you think about it. A way to build in public is also sharing your experiments. Like, for example, I personally don't share as much about, this is how I made a 50,000 million pounds launch, because it, again, just doesn't feel not authentic. I hate to use the word because I need to reclaim it, because I want authentic not to sound so corny. But it doesn't sound authentic to me to share that. Whereas if I share, okay, we're trying this thing. So at the time of recording, I got inspired by Alex Lull, who actually I said, you inspired me to do this. So I did our anti-Friday, Black Friday sale. That's what we're doing for Old Marketing School, because we're launching a template shop with done for you templates, including Notion and Canva stuff. So I said, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to do it, and this is how we want to do it. This is why we're doing it this way. And then once we're done, I'll tell you what happened from everything, whether it's just the revenue itself, what we learned and stuff. I'll give you a bit of an overview. That's the way for me authentically to do a building in public experience. It's about, this is an experiment we're doing with a campaign. This is how it works. But I go with the before, the thinking behind it, and then I'm going to do the after, some of the lessons from it. So, and it could be, again, a campaign. It could be changing the social media strategy. But from a marketer perspective, you always have to start with, why are we doing this? Or what do we want to do? So it almost is more about, again, putting your scientist coat on and being like, this could be interesting for me to try. And this is why I want to try it. And then going back to the reflection piece. Whereas a lot of the time I see that, with some other elements of building in public, you share, maybe the learnings from something that happened, or you share, the takeaways from it. But marketers a lot of the time have to even sell to their team or their clients something they want to try. There's a lot of prep work, a lot of research. And I'm like, why am I not sharing this side of it? It makes sense because naturally that's what I would do anyway for my clients, and obviously what we teach the students.
This is so interesting because you just kind of give me a new lens of building in public I've never thought about. I have audience with SaaS founders. So for software, they just keep sharing what they're adding to the software, or even like monthly recurring revenue. But for creators, they usually I teach them how to build in public to get to that launch so that it has the buzz. But then now you're kind of telling me a new lens that a business can do, just different experiments, and you're not really selling anything. You're just kind of, experiments make it, success and failure. So you're sharing both of them at the same time. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
I'm glad we dig out a new, building in public is so broad. So there's always so many ways to describe it. And I love how you just add one more to it.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay. So I was reading your newsletter and I saw this term positive impact marketing. And as I was reading it, I was like, ooh, this is very similar to building in public. It's about values, personality, behind the scenes. Did you come up with that term?
Fun story. Double fun story. The answer
Love
is
it.
kind of yes. There was 2 Medium articles, I think, about it, kind of en passing. But I was like, is there an actual definition of this thing? Because that's how... So basically, my old company was called Creative Impact. I wrote a book called Make an Impact. So impact is in there. And I was like, how are we different? So we have different USPs with marketing school. Accessible, fun, university standards, not prices. That's a big one. So, there's different elements that make us unique. But then I was also like, but it's also the way that I want to teach marketing. I don't want it to be considered as sleazy or unethical, or just kind of feel like, oh, I don't even want to do it myself because it doesn't sound right to me. I want to market with purpose. And I was like, purpose-driven marketing. I was like, And I was like, oh, well, impact is one of my words. I bring it up again. So I checked and I was like, maybe this is a thing, and it wasn't. So little old Fab was like, let me create my own definition of positive impact marketing, because there is not really one. And then we owned it. It's like, you talk about personal brands owning an emoji or owning a color, owning something. We are slowly owning positive impact marketing. We're also launching, again, a little bit of building in public tip. We are launching a report that we did, which is super small, because I would like to have thousands of people, and currently we're too small to have thousands of people. But it's just enough marketers that give us their opinion about how they're doing their marketing, what they want to see different. And we call it a positive impact marketing report, and it's the first ever. Because of the fact that we still want to have an element of authority, it made sense for me to be, we're owning this term. We want to be the people that teach you positive impact marketing, because you can learn marketing everywhere. But positive impact, we want to be the ones that can really give you that. So naturally, I started owning the term more and more. And I think my little validation was when I realized that our positive impact marketing page, that has a bit of an overview of what it is literally #1 SEO ranking. Is also our first kind of keyword people look at that, because there's not really, as I said, there's not many pages that talk about it. There's not a lot of information around it. And so I wanted to own as much as possible from that. I was like, and so, yeah, I would say if you see yourself as somebody as an expert, or you want to own something, then you can find creative ways to showcase and educate people around the concept. So for us, a report made sense, because it was like, let's hear what other people have to say about this and start shaping what it actually means. So strategic thinking and marketing in there. And basically, yeah, so we kind of created it, not really, but nobody else was really owning it. So I was like, that's ours now.
Yeah, you coined the term now. I love it. I think for the creator listener here, a lot of people are always coming to me and say, like, they're figuring out their niche, they're figuring out what to talk about. I think if you can come down to having a name for whatever you stand for is so important. Because in the past, I was teaching, and then I was asking my students, do you remember what I teach you? And they don't remember. But once I put a name on the framework, they're like, oh, yes, that's the dating framework. That's the view framework. So I'm actually in the process of owning the momentum marketing keyword too.
Nice.
Because I realize building in public is not just about sharing ups and downs every day. Actually, it's amazing when you can build in public for like 8 weeks to get ready for the launch. So momentum marketing is pretty interesting to me. Yeah.
I wanna piggyback on that. That's an excellent point, actually, because I was thinking about some people like Jay Klaus, again, shout out to Jay Klaus, which hopefully we're going to have in the podcast soon. No pressure right here, everybody else to hear, but I was talking about him and I was thinking about him, so I just reached out to him and I was like, well, he obviously has the creator lab, he has the creator element, like learning from creators, yeah? And he's like...
Yeah, I'm part of the lab too.
I saw that. That's also why I just sprinkled it in, like Salve, like that, sprinkle it in.
I met Salve in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean,
funny story.
Does it live up the hype?
What's your question? I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, sorry. Does it live up the hype? I didn't want to interrupt the story, but
I don't know. So I was in the hotel, and it's me and my friend, and then I was pretty sick, so we were heading to the hospital in Dubai.
Oh,
and then the elevator lift opened, and Salt Bae just walked in, and we're like, oh my god, I don't really know him, but I know this. But my friend recognized him. And then my friend was like, can we take a selfie with you? So we got it. Anyway, funny side story. And then we head to the hospital.
At least you had a Salt Bae selfie to bring you to the hospital, like just to kind of comfort you. It was like, lol. That's amazing.
Yeah, okay. Maybe when I show this on YouTube, I'll post the picture next to us. Yeah.
with both of us doing this, like, which we definitely... You're welcome, everyone. Also, Riverside does screenshots. So what are the likelihood that actually Riverside is going to be? That looks great. I'm going to do that as a screenshot. Anyway, sick tangents, but we're going to rein it back in. So we're thinking about Jay. Justin Moore was on our podcast. Justin is super fun. And he's literally almost like the coach for creators. And he kind of, obviously with the creator wizard, you see what we did there. He coined this thing and that's his brand, but it's also him. And you think about other people that I see, especially on Twitter, like owning, I am the newsletter expert, the newsletter coach for creators. That's one way of doing it. And I think it's that and that's a simple example. And then we got the example of what you said, when you actually kind of own a framework or own a term. There are so many ways that we can do it. And I think when you're talking about niche, some people are just like rolling their eyes or be like, oh, not again. But there's so many ways that you can niche down or kind of hone who you are in different ways. Some people even do it with a podcast. Like you think about Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO podcast. That's what people know him for example. So I think it's all about understanding, as you say, what do you want to be known for almost? Kind of what do you want to be, that thing that kind of gets people to think about you, that association, which is really big in marketing. And I know I'm probably not helping the creators out here because I give you another 6 different things you can do. But I want to show you that it's not just saying, I want to specifically help these people with this thing. You can, and that's great. But maybe it's about as you said, the frameworks that you use. Maybe it's about your mission. Maybe it's about one thing that you do, that you have created, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, that is super specific and it has a really catchy name that encompasses who you are. There are different ways to do it. If you're struggling with the old school way of specifically thinking about who is your target audience, do I need to be fully set on that and exactly what I do for them? Not always.
I love that. It kind of expand my thoughts as well. Like, my belief is that people are so afraid to niche down because they feel like they can only talk about one thing. But the truth is not. Like, I'm talking about marketing to you when my niche is building in public. So it's all connected. But I guess we all need to be known quickly in like 2 seconds. Otherwise, no one remember us. So that's why it's important.
I love that. Actually, you know what you made me think about? An excellent interview that I read with Notion's social media manager. Lovely guy. I mean, I don't know him, but it made it sound like a lovely guy. And it was so interesting to read about why he did what he did and some of the ideas behind the social media of Notion. And he kept saying, or writing, I guess, but he kept saying, yeah, because we're not really big, we're not really well known. And then part of me is like, I use Notion a lot. I have a lot of people in the Notion community that I know. And I was like, the Notion is pretty big. And that little thing clicked. And for them, they're still not a household name. No, they're still not, I don't know, the Ryanair or the Wendy's of the world. So that's the thing. Sometimes we forget that even companies that we see all the time, if they're really niche down in the way that they serve their community, we might think they're big, but actually they still don't consider themselves big enough because of the milestones that we reach. So I think it's a great reminder of sometimes we either perceive of ourselves as everybody knows who I am and what I do, but actually we're a lot smaller than we think. And I think that was the realization with Notion. If even they feel they're not reached that mainstream, I think it also puts a bit less pressure on us. And I don't know if you have the same, but with the school, I was like, why doesn't everybody know us yet? And I was like, well, because, and that's the thing, I was like, wait a second. We talk to the same people all the time. And it happens at some point, and I think it's almost a kind of grow and amplify stages that we go through. There is some time where we're going to grow within the people that we have and nurture our community, and that's great. But then we also need to make time for amplifying and going and meet other communities or other people, or, you know, reaching other audiences. And whether you're a business or a creator, you have to do that. Like, I don't think creators should be, I can't think about the word now, excluded from that. That's the one. I think even as a creator, you should be thinking about having some times where you're focusing a bit more on getting other people to know who you are. And we can get some stuck with like, well, why aren't people not coming? And I'm like, because they're talking to the same 2,000 people on Twitter or LinkedIn, which is fine. But what about all the other people that don't know you? And when I put the effort in for the school, new people come in and new people will start that community building process with you. But you cannot expect a lot to change and happen if you're talking to the same 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 people. It's just, you need to expand because there's always going to be new people coming in the space. So it puts a bit less pressure on us to be like, why I'm not growing? It's like, because sometimes it's okay to just get out there into new places and just take a breath.
Yeah. I haven't felt the need to, you know, be out there a lot more because I'm actually still quite new. I'm exactly 2 years into my entrepreneurship journey, like building things under my name. So I feel like I still have a lot in this community to do, but I do constantly think about like how I can get out of the bubble because I'm pretty active on Twitter and you'll see the same people from the same courses, from the same, maybe the indie hacker community all the time. So I'm actually curious to hear how you branch out to new communities. For me, you know, every quarter I look at people around me and I think about, ooh, maybe this is not someone that I would usually collaborate with, but there's a little connection between our work or overlap audience. Maybe it would be fun to collaborate, you know, exchange a workshop or exchange a newsletter, blurb, something like that. So like each quarter I pick like maybe 10 people to expand myself. How do you do it, Fab?
Similar to you. I love that, by the way. Again, big fan of systems, if you know me. Like for anything, the school, otherwise, that's the way you run businesses, especially multiple ones. You got to have systems. I love your system. I go a bit more nuclear in the way that every single day there is a little task that pops up that says, reach out to one new person. That comes from, like intense. But if you think about it, first of all, it comes from Josh Spector. So it's not me. I saw it in his newsletter and it just was like, in his newsletter, he talked about a LinkedIn post he did about that. And I was like, actually, that makes sense. The reason why I love that is the compound effect. So if you think about interests and finances, the compound effect obviously means that you keep adding and that multiplies. So if you reach out to one new person a day, first of all, it's less intimidating for some people. And that's what I want to say. For me, it works because of how my brain works. For Kevon, doing 10 people a quarter works better. Find your way. Yeah. For me, I know how my brain works. So doing one person every day feels less daunting. It's a little high. Oh, we've been following each other for a while now. How can I help you? Or maybe I think, oh, actually, I love what you did there. Can I share that? And then I'm like, what can we do for each other? So reaching to one person a day feels a lot less daunting to me because most people are not going to get back to you straight away or something is not going to happen straight away. But just putting that, and sometimes it's all the people that I reach out to and check in on what they're doing and if I can help them. So that's how we do it. From a structure perspective, on top of that, I also make sure that we have at least every quarter, even if this month is crazy, I got 5 different events, just to say. But
wow.
But
big events or like one-off workshop?
One-off webinars or workshops. I'm doing an actual talk to a summit, on a summit tomorrow at time of recording. So it just happens though. Sometimes you just have more things coming our way, and because I'm not in a cohort, I can actually do that. So I would say...
Oh, you mean speaking at events, not like hosting your own events? So does this count as one event, like speaking on a show or a podcast?
Yes, I would say so, almost. But actually, that would be separate. almost, because that's a bit more ad hoc, you know. But when I try and have at least either co-hosted events or maybe being at somebody else's summit, at least when the cohorts are not running, at least a couple every quarter, because that helps massively because of our audience. Again, if you're a creator, you can be a bit more relaxed about it. This is almost an add-on. If you're a business, is a lot better, because if your business is talking to people and teaching people, then people need to see you and learn from you or get to know you. So events make sense. Obviously, podcasts make sense if you're a creator and you're also teaching because of this. For us, we're a school. We have a $2,000 plus certification because there's a lot of work, there's a lot of value. So people really need to know that this is the right investment for them. So a tweet will not cut it most times. If you're getting to somebody new, you want them to get as much of you as possible.
Wow, I love it, because I was on the same line. The reason why I started making videos and putting on YouTube is not to create like a buzzing YouTube channel. I was simply thinking, my biggest product is a live course. If people don't even get to see me talk and explain concepts and my style, why would they even sign up to my course? So that was the whole reason behind it. But I definitely need to do more events like what you mentioned. So well, thanks for saying this to kind of wrap up this episode. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So Fab, okay. You're doing so many things. I actually didn't know you're like the CMO of like an agency that you just talked about.
It's quite new.
So what is something lately that you're working on so everyone watching this video can also check out?
Awesome, thank you. I would say it still is the school, like what we've been working on a lot when it comes to actually doing things and implementing things because it's so new. And also it is obviously my baby. So I think the latest things that we've been working on has been, well, first of all, moving, which I know is weird, but because of that, now it's time for us to implement. So I'm literally, because we're in between cohorts, the next cohort is in January 2023. So we're looking at how to do talking about release notes, small increments and implementations based on the feedback, including making it 8 weeks. And on top of that, also, you mentioned this yourself, is for us to start a YouTube channel, lol, but exactly for what you said, exactly the same reason as you. It's like people will experience remote live classes from us. I need to make sure that video is still a big prominent part, whether it's the podcast, repurposing it on YouTube, plus other smaller dedicated videos as well. It just makes sense. So I think it's going to be leveling up some of the quality of things, having my face in there a bit more. Now that, I mean, aside from the fact that you can see the office is still work in progress, but I have an office. I have a separate house, like place in the house is not the kitchen next to my husband, which is great, but, you know, has these limitations. So making the
Is this the office room?
Yes, and it has...
Oh, so you're going to decorate it.
It's
nice.
got some swatches of paint.
Cannot wait.
I mean, I was talking to Kevon. We have, like, boxes everywhere. I'm literally boxed in the boxes right now. I have a desk and boxes everywhere. But that got me excited. I was like, we waited 10 months to get into this house. Now we have the space and I have the time to really curate my teaching experience a bit more and my video experience. So that's something big we're working on. So from our self-paced courses to have a wider, more exciting experience, all the way to the live certification, everything is going to be slightly leveled up because video is so important for me. That presence is so important for me. I want to take it to the next level. So I think that's what I'm working on, which is going to reflect on whichever way you interact with us, you're going to get a more curated experience. I'm not adding anything. I'm just making everything a tiny bit better and a tiny bit more exciting.
Yeah. And where can people find you, Fab? Are you most active on which social media?
Everywhere but
website
Snapchat.
is definitely your website. Snapchat?
Not Snapchat. That's the thing. Everywhere but
okay.
Snapchat. I love Snapchat, but it's not for me. You can, so if you want to find out more about me specifically, fabgiovanetti.com, FabGiovanetti.com. Just if you want to find me on social and where I'm at, that's my website. It's very simple, but it has pretty much where I am at and also my books. If you want to find out more about the school instead, altmarketingschool.com, like alt, like alternative, ALT, marketingschool.com is where you can find out more about the school, what we do, our next cohort, and everything else. So with these two hubs, you can find everything you need. And if you have any questions for me at Fab Giovanetti, pretty much everywhere, you can say hi.
Yeah. I need to see if I can find you on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Because Instagram is a lot more personal for me. And I don't really talk much about work, but I want to follow you there too.
I'm quite active
So
there.
for everyone watching, I just want to say you can see how this conversation is going. Like Fab and I are so similar in so many ways. That's why this doesn't feel like an interview, more like a chat. And I want to say a big thank you to you, Fab, for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, should we do the salt bait to end this? All right. Bye, everyone.